Okay, this is the second episode that I've put on here. This is showing the head which is dummied on, and the extractors which we've made up there in place. Everything seems to fit nicely. A little bit about the timing of this motor. What I've made up here is a little aluminium plate there that fits in there with 137 teeth, which is an odd number, and there's an even number of bolts holding it onto the cam, which you can see inside. There's the camshaft. So if you spin this around, say half a turn, that'll give you virtually half of one of those teeth. So a quarter of a turn would give you virtually, it works out to just a touch over half a degree. I think it's about 36 minutes or something. So that's how we're planning to time the engine. This can all be done without taking the rocker covers off, which I thought was pretty trick. Prior to assembling the heads, I was worried about the water coming up the studs, so I decided to make up some small tubes, which we see here. I spot faced down where the studs go. These studs are now they're 1/2 inch. I think originally they might be something like about 7/16 or thereabouts is the original stud, so we've gone for a bit larger size stud. We slip the little tube on, and then with this little piece here, aluminium with a little taper in it, that holds an O-ring, and once that goes on and the O-ring is down in place, when the head gasket sits on, we've got about 1 millimetre above the top of that head gasket is the O-ring, so then that'll seal. It pushes down and onto the stud, and will seal the stud and the bottom of the head. So hopefully there'll be no water coming up the studs. I just thought I'd show you here the copper head gasket, which we've or the head gaskets that we've just had made. That's them there. They're 1.2 mil thick. And we've actually made the larger hole here to accommodate that little aluminium fitting that we made for the head for the O-ring to sit in. Over here we've got this big ugly sort of, what is it? It's an oil filter mechanism with an overflow. Didn't like the look of that, so what I've done is I've made a neat little aluminium plate and incorporated a blow-off valve or a pressure relief valve into it, which I virtually copied the same as what's inside a Chevy pickup. It has the plunger in here. Once the pressure builds up, the plunger gets pushed back, and we've got the 60-pound spring above it. The neat thing with this is that I can actually change the spring by undoing that nut from outside, so I can change to 60 or 80 or whatever size or whatever pressure spring I'd like to run. So virtually instead of this, we end up with this neat little block, another small one here, and a remote oil filter. So yeah. Should be quite neat when it all goes together. So let's hope that there's no issues with fitting it all together, and then we'll do episode 3.